My name is Guillaume Boucry. I'm 44 years old. In 2012, I was an investigator at the Versailles Research Unit, a department that handles the most complex crimes involving murder and rape. In April 2012, I was called in on an unbelievably violent crime. A one-year-old baby was found screaming, stuck beneath its mother's corpse. Maeva was 23 years old. She would never see her son grow up. This is a case I'll always remember. I've worked on 2 or 3 cases that I'll never forget, and this is one of them. Because the woman was so young, and because of the little baby. Only 23, she was just a girl. She had her whole life ahead of her, so it really was awful. The hunt for her murderer went on for 2.5 months. This is the story of the investigation. On the night of April 7th, 2012, I was on duty. At 5 a.m., my phone rang. It was my boss. He told me there had been a murder in Chérence, a small village in the Val d'Oise. At the research unit, whenever the phone rings like that, it's always something serious. A young woman who was found dead at home by her boyfriend, apparently. With a murder, your mind is in a whirl. You're immediately alert. You take a shower, you're already thinking. You jump into the car and head off to the unit. We were given a few details, then we set off. When I arrived in Chérence, it was dark and deserted. At the crime scene, everything was crazy. I thought to myself, for a start, the floor was tiled, with bloody footprints all over the ground floor. We went into a bedroom and saw Maeva, lying on a lifesaver board, wearing just panties. Blood was flowing from a blood-soaked mattress, dripping onto the stairs, held back by a bolster. It was a grisly crime scene. The white walls of the room were spattered with blood. Unbelievable. How could anyone kill a girl like that? She was with her baby. She didn't die instantly. It's one of the worst crime scenes I've ever seen. A little boy stuck beneath his mother, who was bleeding to death, drenched in her blood. Just hideous. It seems Alan, her partner, found her at 2:43 a.m. We estimated that the child must have spent around 2.5, maybe 3 hours stuck under his mother.
I came home from work. It was late. My son was crying. His mother was bleeding in the bedroom. Instinctively, the first thing I did was try first aid, call an ambulance, give her mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, a heart massage. There was blood. The bed, the baby's cot was damaged. She'd hurt her neck. I figured she must have fallen over. But at no time did I imagine that any real drama had taken place that evening.
You thought it was an accident?
Exactly. I thought it was an accident.
My phone rang at maybe 3 a.m., something like that. It was Alain. I jumped out of bed and woke Maeva's father up. He was taking too much time, so I set off first. When I arrived, There were lots of people there. Right away, there was a barrage of questions. The baby was crying. Alain had him in his arms. There were gendarmes, paramedics, emergency services. I hugged the baby. We rocked him. There was nothing else to do. He was crying. Then we went out. They made us leave. And there was a real commotion. Things were happening fast.
She looked like a happy girl. It sounds stupid. It doesn't mean anything, but I don't know. I always have a picture of the victim of the case I'm working on.
Took a while to picture her face, remember what really happened, the life we could have had. I blocked it out for more than 6 months.
When did it come back?
Around 6 months later, slowly, memories, flashbacks. I could see her laughing. I could see us laughing together. That's the image that remains etched in my mind. She was a warrior. She might not look it with her little arms, but she was really strong. And, well, let's stop there.
She was the blue-eyed girl of the house. Having a girl among 4 boys made her rather special. Her brothers are a bit reserved. She always made her presence felt. She set the mood.
When she was training to be a hairdresser, the first year, she was going out with Alain. One day, she came home and asked me how old I was when I had my first child. I knew exactly what she meant. She really wanted that baby.
For families, it's terrible. It eats away at them. It eats away at the investigator, too. An unsolved case is awful. You absolutely need to find the perpetrator. A murder investigation is a hunt, and you need a hunter's instinct to work on that type of case. His eyes were blank. I said, "Sit down," and he sat down. "Get up," and he got up. He was just lost.
It was around 7, 8, or maybe 9 a.m. Someone in the hallway was talking to the gendarme, and I heard them mention murder. I'd been interviewed 5 or 6 times, and I didn't know why I was being grilled.
I felt sorry for him. He'd lost his partner, given his dying wife a heart massage. At the same time, I had to tell myself he may have had something to do with her murder, so I kept my distance. There's money in cocaine, so we didn't know. Someone could have been caught short or have been chasing money. Alain might have had some unpaid drug debt. It could have been anything. When it comes to narcotics, every angle has to be considered.
That lead was soon dismissed. I'm not some big shot. They could see there was no need to pursue it.
We needed to explore the drug lead, but we quickly realized it was leading nowhere. Of course, a murder had been committed. We had to find out if these people had enemies. Might someone have had a grudge against them? That was the question. Did anyone have an axe to grind? That's when the name Berruet came up. Alain and Henda Berruet.
When they broke up, Rodolphe continued to send her text messages of a sexual nature. Maëva was now settled with Alain, and Rodolphe had made a new life with Christelle. She told Alan she'd received several messages from Rodolphe, and that bothered him. So Alan showed the text message to Christelle, Rodolphe's companion, which caused a scandal. Christelle broke up with him. Rodolphe drove off in his car. He had undoubtedly been drinking. And he killed himself in a car crash.
They believed their son was a victim of murder, and they thought the perpetrators could be Alan and Maeva. So in November 2011, when they ran into Alan and Maeva at the supermarket, Hinda Berruet violently attacked Maeva. She told her that she was going to die, that she was going to make them suffer as much as she had suffered, and made death threats against her. Alain Berruet also got involved and went for Alan, Maeva's boyfriend. He insulted him, wanted to beat him up. Alan and Maeva were both scared.
We could feel the animosity. We avoided going to the supermarket when they were there. We made sure we stayed away from them. There was a lot of apprehension in the air.
A doctor had been walking home with his baby along the street where Alan and Maeva lived. It was midnight. He saw a white vehicle parked outside Maeva's house. Inside the car was a blonde or white-haired gentleman wearing pink rubber gloves. He turned away as he got closer so that he couldn't see him. Potentially, the gray-haired man might have been Mr. Berruet, so he was a potential suspect. He also had a white vehicle, so for us, this information was extremely interesting. Up to this point, the Berruets had been our main lead, but we had no solid evidence. 2 days after the murder, I decided to subpoena the Berruets as witnesses. I couldn't put them in custody. I didn't have enough evidence for that. All investigators have their own favorite way of doing things. I like to bring people in and interview them. Alain Berruet was quite at ease, a very relaxed, polite, serene man. He had explained to us how he was a friend of Maeva's father, how he had felt really sorry for him, and was going to support him. He had urged us to find the bastard who had done it. He told us that on the evening in question, Saturday night, he had gone out around 8 p.m. to eat at the home of friends who lived 500 meters away. He said he had taken his wife's Clio. After the meal, he had gone home at around 11 p.m., a little tipsy, and had gone to bed. Physically, Hinda Berruet was a pretty tough nut, very inscrutable. Since the death of her son, she had been on medication. She had fallen into a deep depression and had become a broken woman who lived only through her dead son. It was hard to get her to lower her guard. She kept saying, "I don't remember anything. I was on medication. I fell asleep. I don't know what happened that night." To use police parlance, we came out of the interview saying, "This stinks." Hinda Berruet was extremely vague, hiding behind the explanation that she'd taken medication and couldn't remember. Plus, she was aggressive. We could smell a rat. There was definitely something shady about the whole thing. They knew full well that they were suspects in a murder investigation. At the same time, we were being nice with them. I was being very nice with them. I felt like I was calling their bluff. What was the gist of what they were saying? Well, in 10 pages, there was nothing of interest. It was full of shit. The interviews yielded nothing aside from one thing that turned out to be vital to our investigation. Henda said Alain had taken his 205 station wagon, whereas he claimed he'd taken her Renault Clio. It seemed like nothing, but it was a crucial piece of evidence. Truly, we turned up absolutely nothing. Not a drop of blood in Alain or his wife's vehicle, or on his clothes.
He offered his condolences a day or two after the murder. He told me all about the house search, how something like 10 police officers had been round his house. They'd come collecting shoes and clothes, analyzing the kitchen sink and the washing machine.
He told you about the search?
That's right, the very next day.
So you knew why he'd been raided?
Inasmuch as he'd threatened Alain, as well as Maeva. The police were bound to be interested in them. They were obviously going to check out the closest person first. Yeah, that would make sense.
Working on cases where we travel all over France or go abroad. Here we were investigating an area of 10 square kilometers. Days went by, a week, then 2 weeks, and all I could think about was the investigation. It's like my whole world stopped. I got up in the morning thinking about Maeva, went to bed thinking about Maeva. It was crazy. You go home, the investigation doesn't stop. Whether it's business, private life, your kids' problems, you're less available. You cancel your vacation, you can't go anywhere because of the investigation. My wife and kids aren't gendarmes, but they understood that this was a big investigation. My wife understood it and accepted it, but it could be difficult sometimes.
Mr. Beaucry and another officer often came round. They were ever present. And they were always very sympathetic and attentive, making sure that we were all right. It wasn't just about the investigation.
Actually, yes, there was a lot of talk about the case because it had just happened. And then pretty soon, people went back to talking about their lives, their problems. Henda Berruet spent hours on the phone. Conversations lasting an hour and a half, 2 hours. The thing is, in a 2-hour conversation, you can't skip bits. You need to listen to the whole 2 hours. It was exhausting, a form of punishment. For whoever had to listen to Henda Berruet, it was a real ordeal. After 2.5 months of listening, in mid-June, we had this one phone call. I had a girl on the team, and she said she had something interesting. So we put the loudspeaker on, 4 of us sat down to listen, to make sure we agreed on what had been said. So I called the examining magistrate and told him we had an interesting phone call. We needed to bring them in. Then we had to sit down and figure out a strategy for the police teams, who now had a 48-hour window. So we got ready to arrest them. He was handcuffed. He said, "I've got nothing to do with this. You know, you've got it all wrong. I'll answer your questions, but it's nothing to do with me." I made him understand that whatever happened, we were coming to the end of this thing. I think he knew that it was done and dusted. He was staring down the barrel of a gun. We said, "We've got him. Another 48 hours and it's done." We reeled him in during the course of the evening, gradually introducing the inconsistencies, lining them up one after the other. We made him squirm. He had no answer to the inconsistencies. He tried to counter them, but he wasn't credible, and he was confronted with some compelling evidence. In the end, we put so much evidence in front of him that he cracked and began to cry. He said he would explain everything, that it was him who had killed Maeva. He brought a trophy back for his wife. "Here, look, it's done." It was proof to his wife of what he'd done. His wife had heard her son scratching from within his grave. She said he's alive. He knew it wasn't true, but his wife kept saying, yes, he's alive. So he took a hammer and chisel and went to open up his son's gravestone, establish peaceful relations by going out to kill Maeva and bring back the purse to his wife. It's as if he was saying, stop calling me a wimp, I did it. I showed you that I was a man. This was a girl he knew. She had been his son's girlfriend. Between the ages of 16 and a half and 18, she was often in their home. He never mentioned Maeva's father. Even while he was in police custody, he had nothing to say about him, and they were meant to be good friends. All that mattered was that his son had died. The rest was of no importance. Both of them, Henda Berruet and Alain Berruet, were self-obsessed, completely focused on themselves, on their sorrow, on the death of their son. They didn't care about anything else. It didn't matter. Maeva's death, her murder, was irrelevant to them. It was nothing compared to their own pain. They were cold, both of them, terribly cold. Next, I had to inform the relatives that the murderer had been arrested. I called them. We need to see you at the station. We've solved the case. Come down. We'll tell you about it. It was extremely hard for them to take in. Especially for Mr. Rousseau. He was stunned. It was a hammer blow to him. This was his friend, a man who had supported him. He couldn't understand it.
Never in my life would I have guessed it was him.
Not at any moment?
No. Although he uttered threats, looking at his behavior in the wake of the murder, accompanying me to the nursery to buy a basket of flowers for my daughter on the day of the funeral. He told me to pick one out. I said, no, you do it. It's from you. It takes someone with a really thick skin to do that. I'll never forget being on the terrace saying to myself, to think I had him right there.
I don't know what you'd call it. It's as surreal as being told that your child has been killed. Seeing that it's a man who claimed to be very close to my husband, who welcomed him into his house, who saw him every day, had meals with him, spent time with him. My husband used to come home and say, oh, she's so smart, and he said this, he said that. He would spend whole weekends doing odd jobs at their house. So it was surreal, being told that it was these people.
A year into an investigation I had been working on, the things I saw on the very first day, that poor girl lying there, all messed up, having a heart massage. Those images obviously came flooding back, especially with the dried blood. Mr. Berruet was very cooperative, very polite, and asked after me. Hello, Mr. Bocry, how are you keeping? It was like seeing an old acquaintance. It went well. He didn't seem to resent me for having put him in jail. He was there. On the technical side, he was very cooperative. What position were you in? I think I was like this. Not a word about her, nothing. Basically, that was it. He seemed oblivious to the horror of what he'd done.
Picasso has blood running through his veins. I don't do it for him. I do it for myself and for my son. That's it. What would be the point? To fuel hatred and revenge. Are these the kind of values I want to convey to my son? I don't think so. Not really. Is it what Maeva would have wanted? No, I don't think so. My son is fine. He goes to school, he has friends.
My wife says she's seen me change with my job. She thinks I've become much colder and warier. I think that's true. I open up less to others. You trust few people, very few.